1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay, how you doing? Welcome to the program. It's a Monday. It's April. It feels like February. It's real weird. What is it, April 4th? Way to go, Bucks! I actually have tickets for Tuesday night's game when it's supposed to be like 10 below. Anyone want 2 tickets to 7:30 game Tuesday night? I just, I would have no trouble if it's a football game, but there's something about a baseball game in that weather that I'm not, at night yet, that I'm not interested in. But anyway, seriously, if anyone wants those tickets, they're nice seats. Let me know, and I don't know what I can do about it. I'll stick them someplace. So when last we spoke, I mean, there's been a sale of the paper. And I've gotten a lot of nervous emails from people, usually with the subject line "OMG" or "Not again," seeing as so many journalistic outlets have been sold out from under me. But this is not. We don't know yet. I don't have a clue. I haven't even met the people that took over. We'll try to figure this out, ascertain, whatever. I do want you to know that I'm thinking everything's going to be okay, one way or the other. I'll still stay on the internet. I mean, if it's from this specific, whatever, not to worry, okay? I don't know. All right. I spent the weekend in Ann Arbor, Michigan, my brother's 70th birthday, which is daunting, isn't it? To realize, I mean, when you're getting old, I mean, what do you mean I'm 70? What do you mean my brother's 70? It's really, so I'm a little still sort of just trying to take it all in. But it's neat to be 70 and have your mom there at the party, I think. And a good time was had by all. Oh, I have to tell you about something that happened there, because it was like one of those moral dilemma things. What is the right thing to do? What would you do? We were leaving our hotel to go to the party. We being my mother, my son, and I. There was what appeared to be a blizzard going on outside the hotel. I mean, snow was blowing horizontally. And so my son gallantly said, I'll go get the car and drive it up here so you can get in the car under this, what do you call that thing? Under the ceiling of some sort. Portico, I know. There's a French word for it. Coucher. There's a French word for that covered thing outside front door so that people coming and going don't get wet. There's a P in the word, or there's like two words, and there's a C in the word. Celine doesn't know it. I'm just saying. There is. I can't think of what it is. It's like porte à coucher, like covered door. Would that be it? Anyway, I'm sorry. So, my son gets out of the car, having brought it up, and I am getting into the driver's seat as he exits the driver's seat to open the door for my mother. And I mean, it really is like a blizzard, and everything's wet. We're getting wet. And I look down and there's $100 bill lying just right there, right where my foot is about to step into my car. $100 bill. A wet $100 bill, but a $100 bill nonetheless. I picked it up. We all get in the car, shut the doors, and I said, look what I just found. And immediately an argument breaks out. What do you do when you find a $100 bill outside the front entrance of a hotel? My mother said, well, you keep it. How do you know whose it is? How do you prove 100? Who's going to say that's my $100 bill? No one can prove it's their bill. I said, but yeah, that's no reason to keep it because I know it's not mine. My son said, we've got to turn it in. I said, to whom? He said, I'll take it into the front desk and tell them where we found it. So if somebody comes to the front desk and say, hey, I just lost a $100 bill, they can give it back to him. And my mother said, well, that's like giving a $100 bill to the person behind the front desk. Literally and figuratively. I said, but I can't. Sam was adamant. And I was leaning toward his being the moral, the ethical thing to do. And yet, it's true. No one, even the person who dropped that $100 bill, could prove it was their $100 bill. So anyone can claim it. I don't know. So anyway, he brought it in, and I said, hey, tell him we found it, we're putting it in, but if no one claims it by the morning, we'd be happy to take it. Finders keepers. So he did tell them that. Porte coucher. Thank you. Yeah. So he goes in, he apparently dispatches with the job, and all the way to the party we're arguing the point back and forth. And I said, well, I can assure you we will never see that $100 bill again. And when we got to the party and threw it out, everybody agreed that whoever my son had given that $100 bill to would have a hard time not pocketing it. Because all they had to do was say, someone came. Well, that's interesting because, someone turned in a $100 bill, and 5 minutes later, some guy came in and said, and I gave it to him. So, the next morning, I went over to the desk and I said, last evening we brought a $100 bill to and the woman said, what? Well, it was a different woman. Never heard of it. I said, my son said she put it in the drawer right down over there. The woman pulls the drawer. There's nothing No drawer. Pulls all the drawers. There's no $100 bill. She said, nobody left me any notes about this. She said, I would imagine that it was put in the safe. And that I have no key to that, she said, but I'm sure when the manager comes in on Monday, we can. So anyway, I had to write this thing about how I give. What are the odds that the manager went to work today, opened the safe, and there was a $100 bill inside, which will now be sent to Lynn Cullen in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? What are the odds? 0? I so want that bill to come back to me. Not because I want the bill to come back to me, because people are so... Nobody trusts anybody anymore, it seems. We think the worst of everyone. We assume the worst behavior. We assume that the person behind the desk, who doesn't make a lot of money, admittedly, to whom that $100 bill is like, whoa, would, pocket it, because even as they pocket it, they could say, who could ever prove it was theirs anyway? I mean, there's no... So, my brother, of course, is a law professor. There were a lot of law professors at this party. And talking to some of them, a few of them had the same exercise for me. They said, say it was a $1 bill that you saw. I said I would have kept it. What if it was a 5? I said I would have kept it. What if it was a 20? I said I would have kept it. They said, so what is it about that 100 that made it? It's anyway, I'm just saying, you think about it. I feel I did the right thing. So I feel good. I don't feel like a jerk. Although most people would just say, I'm lucky I found a $100 bill. Now, it's easy for me. I ain't starving. I ain't homeless. And in fact, I don't need the $100 bill. If I needed the $100 bill, I would imagine I would have happily pocketed it. So, made you think about stuff. But who the hell walks around with $100 bills that they drop in? I don't know. Okie doke. What? Call? Hello.
Hello, Lynn. It's Dave from Washington.
Hey, Dave from Washington. Hello.
I love these moral arguments.
Okay.
The reason why I would do something about I would keep a $20 bill, and the reason why I would try to do something about a $100 bill is because for somebody that's a significant loss.
Exactly.
If they lost the $20 bill, they'll be fine without that. They lose a $100 bill, that could be detrimental to somebody. I would try to return it to them. What I would have done is gone into the hotel there, and I would have told them behind the counter, I found a significant amount of money outside. I'm not going to tell you how much it is. Here's my phone number. If somebody comes in, fine. Because if they come in and say, I lost $100, all right, in what denomination? And if they said it was a single $100 bill, well, then it's probably theirs. Because otherwise, how would they know that that's what you found?
It's like when some people, if you've lost a watch or something, and you go to collect it from where it's been returned, and they might question you, what kind of a watch is it?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. You have to identify it in some way. You cannot identify money.
Nope. But you can identify the amount of money.
Well, you're right.
Denomination.
And if I had been as smart as you, I'd be $100 richer today.
Yeah, probably.
So that's what you would have known to do that. It didn't occur to us.
I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
But that's exactly why I felt, you feel like, okay, if you would return the 20, then it's no different, really. It's the same argument, but you're right. You feel like 100 might be something that is really important to somebody.
If you lost a $20 bill, oh, that would suck. But it wouldn't necessarily preclude you from paying rent. But if
Right.
you lost a $100 bill, I mean, that's
Right.
That's a significant amount of money. So that I would try to do something about. And I have found $20 bills.
Uh-huh. Have you ever found
The
100?
thing is, that just means one of these days I'm going to lose a $20 bill.
So what I want to know is, what do you think the odds are that I will receive an envelope from Ann Arbor, Michigan with a $100 bill in it?
Pretty slim.
Real slim, right?
Real slim. Like I said, they've got until I leave. If somebody calls me, and we can't identify the bill, of course, but the amount and the denomination, it's $100. Was it 520s or was it a $100 bill? You know, and otherwise, I'm leaving in a couple days, and if I don't hear from them, I'm going out for dinner.
So I wonder who's going to take. I wonder who took it. I mean, I wonder if I don't get it. Would it be the clerk? Would it be the manager who's going to open the? Maybe the clerk was honest as hell, and in fact did put it in there. I wonder.
Well, did you ask the manager?
The manager wasn't there on the weekend.
But if you go back later on and say, did you get that $100 bill? Because if he says no, well, then you know it never made it that high.
Well, how do you know if you can trust him?
Well, there's always that.
I mean, you know, there's no way. It's interesting. Okay. Yep. Well, thank you, though.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Appreciate it, David. Bye.
Bye.
Porte couchère. What does that mean? Like covered door. Port is door. Covered door. Yeah. Although, as Little writes, it could be an awning. It could be a canopy. All those things. I couldn't even come up with a... Okay, so... Laura writes, Sam is a good young man. A naive young man. You keep it. Never turn it into the front desk. It goes into their pocket. Laura, but that's so cynical. Is that cynical or is that... I mean, that's what... Yes, that's what my brother said. That's what my mother said. That's what... I like to think the best of people. And I'm proud of my son because he did have a... that's a... Yeah, you're saying he's good and he's naive. I wish more of us were naive. You're right, I'm sure. Okay. Margie says you go out to dinner. Well, I was heading to a party where there was plenty of food to be had. Well, somebody's happy, I suppose, someplace. Coming into 100 when you're not expecting it. Speaking of money, am I just a jerk? Or do you think I'm the only one who reacted like negatively to this scene column today about the elegant escapade wedding that they covered? I mean, I'm looking at the people, the bride and groom, they look like such nice people. But the whole thing, what the? I mean, I am all against, I am forever against. You talk about stupid use of money, you talk about throwing a gazillion $100 bills away. It's what some people do for a wedding. And young people, often, who have student debt to pay off, who don't necessarily, they don't have their careers going yet. Why would you spend thousands of dollars you barely have on some big friggin' blowout that's over? It's like, to me, it's the same thing as buying like a $10,000 bottle of wine. I don't think I could enjoy drinking something that, I mean, knowing it's just going to go in here and out there, you're going to literally piss away $10,000 or $1,000. But I feel the same way about a wedding. First of all, the odds are just 50-50 that wedding's going to take. Secondly, Think of what that money could do for a young couple. That is more concrete, that is more lasting. Now, I guess these people had to be rich anyway. I don't know, but this is what it says. And I mean, what kind of bullshit is this? Excuse me. See, I'm a curmudgeon. Here, I'm reading from the paper. I even hate this whole thing that the paper, as you know, has shrunk to like about 3 pages. And that an entire page is given up to this. Listen. The stuff that dreams are made of only begins to describe the fabulosity. Right there, I'm pissed. The fabulosity that was the wedding of Alexandra and Navy Lieutenant, I don't want to defame them in any way, at St. Paul's Cathedral. And then it says this, the exquisite invitations by Jody Stein didn't just say black tie, but black gown only. And so all of the pictures, everything is black and white. Oh, what a beautiful... What if you didn't have a black dress to wear to a wedding? If you want to go to this wedding, you got to buy a friggin' black dress? I don't know. When the doors to the cathedral opened, audible gasps could be heard as guests caught sight of the bride in a mermaid-style lace gown encrusted with crystals. And then every person, they say so-and-so wearing a Escada, this one wearing somebody out there, all the name-dropping you had to, you know... Oh, the only thing that wasn't black and white were the bridesmaids' dresses. And here's something cool. Obviously, this family's wealthy because they didn't make the bridesmaids pay for their dresses. They paid for their dresses, and the dresses were not black. Theirs were some color I don't even know what it is. Cerulean? Okay. Oops. You guys are writing in on my ethical dilemma. Melanie, I'm sure every hotel lobby has cameras in them now, and I'm betting the tape is being reviewed. Maybe. Pretty easy to sort of just slip $100 in the course of doing your business behind the counter. I don't know. Let's see. What else we got here? This emailer says, this is a game I've played with a lot of people. You are at an outdoor festival that's been going on for 3 days. You go into the Porta-John and you see a plastic bag with money in the toilet. Completely under all that. Bleh. How much money would have to be in it for you to reach in? To reach your whole hand into this porta potty thing and grab that money. You can't get gloves or anything else. You have to reach in and grab it. I've gotten as low as $50 somebody would do that. Oh, for God's sake. You said $5,000. I say nothing. I don't know. It's too disgusting why does money make us so nuts? Margie writes about the wedding, pompous assholes. That's sort of my feeling. I just don't like... There's something so... It's just wasted money in so many ways. And I mean, when you do know, if somebody has again, 2 young people, sizable debt, this is the reality nowadays. And then it just doesn't make any sense to me. William writes, the greatest tragedy of money is when it isn't circulated. That is correct. When rich people sit on all the money. When we don't, circulation of money is how things work. As he says, our economy is suffering right now in part because of $2 trillion getting tucked away overseas. Now, there's this huge story, the biggest leaked bunch of papers dump in the history of the universe, much larger than anything WikiLeaks ever did, larger than what Snowden did, and the result of a consortium of investigative journalists all over the world working together. And it names names and tells of all of these rich, connected people, politicians and just gazillionaires, and the money that they have exactly tucked away in tax havens all over the world, taking it out of circulation, taking it out of the tax of potentially giving to their countries of origin for tax purposes. And I'm sure breaking a lot of laws in the process is going to be a huge story. I mean, it already is. It's so huge. It's global, and I can't imagine. It took well over a year, apparently, for all of this to be sifted through, and maybe they're still sifting through it. But William writes, right, I completely understand anyone's hesitation to take a $100 bill because it surely might have been or should have been important to the person who lost it. However, if the money is unclaimed and truly lost, that is the greatest shame of all. It's a lot like the shame of a book never read. You don't want the responsibility, but nonetheless it has fallen to you, and it is now your responsibility to circulate it back into the economy. As for the one who lost it, they learn very hard, but very appropriately, that they should never lose a $100 bill again. Ha! Well, I guess then I did the right thing. I put it back in circulation. But I would have done that by keeping it, too. I would have spent it. All right, so we've taken care of our 100? Man, I hope that $100 bill comes back to me. I'll give it to charity. I will absolutely give that 100 to charity, but I just so want it so that all of you who think it won't come back, actually, I don't think it'll come back either. But there are scrupulously honest people in this world still. And if by chance my son gave that to a scrupulously honest person who did put it in the vault or safe, and if the manager who perhaps opened it this morning is also, by chance, a scrupulously honest person, it will be given to me. Speaking of that disgusting porta potty thing, did you see this hysterical article? It starts out funny, and then you realize that it's really talking about something that's not funny at all. But the headline is what obviously drew my attention, and if you read the Sunday Post-Gazette, then you probably had your head turned by it as well, and it is this. Here's the headline. Candidates in India must prove they use a toilet. Isn't that a headline? So right away I thought, what the hell? And how do you, And it turns out that this is coming mostly from the ruling party, the federal party, the party of the Prime Minister, Modi. He has launched what's called a Clean India campaign, And the aim of this campaign is to end outdoor public defecation by the year 2019, which is a huge undertaking since, according to this article, 40% of Indians still do their business outside. And I'm not talking about in an outhouse. I'm talking about outside. Says here, in a number of states, India, like us, is divided into states. So 5 Indian states that have almost 500 million people in them have enacted legislation like this in the last 2 years, that if you run for public office, you have got to prove that you have a toilet in your house. Now, in some ways, this seems to me that's not fair, because obviously the people who don't have toilets would be poor people. So you would be ensuring, if it's not already the case, that a poor person could not run for office because they can't afford a toilet. But the idea behind the campaign is that if you are going to represent the people, if you are going to be somebody that has status and is looked up to, then you have to be a proper role model, and a proper role model has a toilet, apparently. But it does say here that it is estimated that 40% of Indians still lack access to functioning toilets. And mostly this is in rural areas. And they also say there's a cultural thing going on in that there are traditional beliefs that it is more wholesome to do your business outdoors. I can see that. I bet there was a hue and cry when, what was this, Thomas Crapper is the guy who first came up with the toilet. when Crapper, invented the first crapper, and he said, and people might have said, well, we can't have that in the house. But of course they had chamber pots. I don't know. Anyway, so who would think, India, a country, wow, what a mess of a country that must be. Because it is very, it's a rich country in many ways. It's a huge, huge, important country. We see so many people here coming from India. They're extraordinarily well-educated, sophisticated people, and yet clearly almost half of Indians are living in a manner that we cannot even imagine. So, candidates in India must prove they use a toilet. Actually, I think, we should might make our presidential campaign even more interesting if we could have our candidates prove they use a toilet too. Okay, what we got? Peter Sellers and Ringo. Hi, Lynn, have you ever seen the movie The Magic Christian with Peter Sellers and Ringo Starr? I think I've seen bits of it. Peter Sellers is a rich man who goes around with Ringo to see what extremes people will go through for free money. Oh, that's where, okay. Wait, I have a caller. Caller, hello.
Hello, Lynn.
Yes.
Hey, Lynn, interesting topic about pooping. But in India, what's very terrible and nobody thinks about is when women have to go to the bathroom, wacko men, hide around the bushes and try to see what's going on. It's insane. So that's one thing that's just nobody really thinks about that goes on.
Well, rape is such a huge problem in that country, and you bet. So women, let's say a woman at night having to go out.
I mean, I can't.
Oh,
Men are just. I mean, I'm a man, but I sometimes wonder about what the hell. Women can't even go to the bathroom without people having men think of.
Can you imagine?
I mean, what? Number two, though, maybe on a positive or kind of a different note, in this country, we have Alcazan basically spewing poop and, well, that's not Alcazan. Our city's spewing poop.
No, it's the old infrastructure. We don't have any money for that. There's a sewage overflow.
This is my point, which I don't understand, which I'm thinking about doing, but the wife doesn't approve of it. There's a guy who has a toilet that it's not flushable, but it's you poop into this toilet, and you either use wood flakes or wood chips.
Yeah.
And you don't put it into the water stream.
No. It goes down. You know what? I hate to tell you, I once used a toilet like that.
Yeah.
I used it
in other countries. I mean,
no, I used it in.
I've been into forestry. If you're into hiking, different things, you realize that you don't. If most people are on the grid, you're not thinking about these things, but if you're in situations where you have to do it, but the pollution, what I'm thinking of is that we shouldn't really be drinking the water. We're putting all this poop into the streams. Why are we flushing our poop down the toilets? And then Alcazan's got to process the toilet paper and all these different things, and then we purify it. We shouldn't even do it.
No, you're right.
Nobody puts into the water, into the stream, into the.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have. No, then people say, well, you're going to have dirty things. No, you have to be clean about it. I'm not saying you don't wash your hands, you don't get rid of the poop in a good and proper fashion, but it could be done. It could be done without throwing all this waste going into the system. And Alcazan's got to do that. Look at it. It can't be done. And like you say, all these people, the money's being dispersed. I was listening to the one talk show. They said about 52% of our money goes to defense. All the different things related to in this country that we spend. Instead of us spending money for the water treatment systems for Detroit or poop in the, we're literally throwing poop in the water every time that it rains in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
We're trying to stop it, but we can't. It's cost money.
And
we have money for planes and bombs and.
I know.
Poison. And,
I hear you. Ain't it? It makes you crazy. It makes you crazy.
We have money for all that, but
yeah.
And then you listen to some people, and they say we need more money for defense. I don't.
Those would be Republicans, I think they're called.
We're not. We're short. Obama's weak on defense. I'm thinking, what do we get it? Well, we just give all our money to defense contractors. We all go to work, and here's your paycheck, Mr. Defense Contractor. We need you to help keep us safe. Just take all of our money. We know you're responsible. You're looking out for us, like Bill O'Reilly would always say. I'm sure they're looking out for us in this country, right? So, Lynn,
I hear you. No, I hear you.
All right. Lynn,
okay, good. And
I'll talk to you.
Yes.
You know.
And what I'll say to all of that is shit. Yeah, right. So, no, I used a toilet like that once. It was beautiful. This was in the desert in Israel. And it was a totally environmentally, everything built there was built out of recycled stuff. Everything they built, they made their own bricks. It was really impressive. So we went and saw how these people were living. And they had it looked like an outhouse. And I went in to see what that was about. And it was the loveliest bathroom I've ever been in. It smelled so wonderful. They had all kinds of, like crushed flowers and stuff and things around. And, yeah, it was a hole that went down. I cannot tell you how deep that hole must have gone. But when you were done, right, you would take some few little wood chips and just throw them in over what you had done. There was no discernible bathroomy smell. It was just lovely. So, I know that is possible in some places. I don't know. So back to the Magic Christian. So this is maybe where our other emailer got his, ethical. If you put your hand in a porta potty to get how much money would it take? Because it says here in the Magic Christian, with Peter Sellers and Ringo Starr, at the end they fill a giant tank with raw sewage and then throw cash into this pool of sewage, and people dive in after it. Also, great soundtrack by Badfinger as well. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Rob said, I once found 3 $100 bills in a puddle at a car wash. Only drug dealers are rolling with $100 bills. That's, I forget, more than one person at the party did say that is probably drug money. Or it could be, and I don't know. Every once in a while, I have $100 bill or two in my hand. Believe me, I'm not a drug dealer, usually. Right. Oh, and then he says, how would Wendy Bell tell your story on her Facebook page? I'm so sick of Wendy Bell right now that I could scream. I do not want to, I don't care anymore. I don't want to even think about her. The newspaper obviously loves this story. They keep finding, they went and found the kid, the smiling, dancing waiter, identified him, and he was very happy to have Wendy Bell, do what she did. And Wendy's back on Facebook. She got her own Facebook page. Within 2 seconds, it had 20,000 followers. This was not, obviously, clearly, Wendy didn't learn a thing from this. She doesn't get it at all. She really doesn't get it. It's too bad, because it was an opportunity for her to grow and stop thinking she's some gift to God. She's starting to sound like somebody who thinks she can save the world. Like there's a preacher aspect to her that is I'm now finding extremely annoying. So I don't want to. I'm done with Wendy Bell unless something more interesting comes up. But it is true. I cannot tell you how many people in Ann Arbor said, "What's with that television anchor?" So it all over the place. It was all over the place. Hey, I've heard of this thing, and I just want to alert you. I happened to see this. There is something on TV tonight. Well, it says PBS, check local listings. And unfortunately, QED here has an incredible tendency to not air things when PBS all over the country is. They put some, like a Lawrence Welk show in instead. So I'm hoping QED has this, because this is a PBS show tonight. It is a documentary, I think just an hour long, but it is about this little town in North Dakota. And by little town, I mean little town. There's all of 24 people in it. So it is a town with a few people in it. And a guy named Craig Cobb, who's not from the town, started buying property in the town. And eventually, of course, the 24 townspeople start talking to each other and saying, "Hey, did you know that's, the so-and old building over there has just been bought, and somebody blah, blah, blah." And Craig Cobb turns out to be a white supremacist. And he picked this town. He thought, here's a great place. I'm going to buy this town. And then it's going to be a haven for good folks, good neo-Nazis, good people like me. And amazingly, these 24 people living in this nowhere place in North Dakota started fighting back. Now, you got to bet the 24 people living in this town called Leith are not rich people. They're probably people who have nowhere else they can be or go. He starts bringing in muscle, brings in guns, brings in some of his like-minded thugs. And it says here, this documentary allows him time to explain himself, and that makes his project all the more chilling. So I don't know how this ends up, but this sounds like a hell of a thing to watch, because it's reality in our country right now. That's maybe on WQED tonight or PBS stations nationwide. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten all excited seeing something. Oh, wow, that's on public television tonight. And then I tune in and QED's not showing it. Drives me crazy. Roger writes, I find big, ostentatious weddings, absurd and a waste of money. Me too. Perhaps my priorities are misaligned. Here's my marriage story. Oh, okay. Getting ready for work on an August Monday in 1986, a few months after finding out that our first child was on the way, my girlfriend decided she wanted to get married after all. She was keeping her maiden name but thought we should tie the knot. We were making hardly any money, so it made sense to do the justice of the peace thing. Since I was filing for a permit at the courthouse for my construction company that day, I completed that application for our marriage license at the same time. 2 days later, we took the Wednesday afternoon off and headed to the courthouse, where a friend met us to witness the ceremony performed by a man in a dark green polyester suit with light green contrast stitching. Oh, I remember those. The other attendant was a buck's head mounted on the wall with really impressive antlers. Afterwards, our friend took us to lunch, and later on my bosses threw us a dinner party where they maybe there were 6 of us. The next day we went back to work. A couple of days later, we told our parents and siblings that we were married, who made us feel we did everything wrong and insisted on throwing us a picnic in my parents' backyard, where I had to clean it up and create a makeshift picnic table using an air hockey table from my youth as the base, with a 4 by 8 foot piece of plywood as the tabletop. Our families brought food and we had a great time. This August will make 30 years of a mostly blissful union. We're doing well financially and have very little to complain about. Maybe we'll do something extravagant this special year instead of going camping in Canada. That's a great story. I mean, I know. I'm trying to think. My wedding in my backyard, in my parents' backyard. Very small. My husband and I. He had to go to work the next day. He was working a construction job for the summer because he was in law school and he needed money. So he had a construction job, and we got married, and then we drove 40 miles up the highway to the doctor who had brought me into the world, Dr. Milson. To Dr. Milson's cabin on on Green Bay, the thumb of Lake Michigan. And he had given us this for a week. So we get to this godforsaken, dark, horrible place, mildewed, awful thing with this lumpy bed. We were exhausted. But, it was in the town of, and I love this, Dykesville, Wisconsin. And so we got into this lumpy bed and so exhausted we fell asleep. There was no consummation. Fell asleep. He had to get up at some ungodly hour because he had about an hour trip to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, where he was working on a warehouse building. And I made him some sandwiches, packed his lunch bucket, and off he went. And I sat in this horrible place because he took the only car we had. I wish I could say 30 years later, we're still, but I mean, no, it didn't occur to us to spend any money. It didn't occur. And for that matter, I was so disinterested that I didn't even want to, my mother forced me to buy a dress and pick out some dishes. It's totally uninterested. We realized a few days before the wedding that we had no rings. We're all in Green Bay by that point, and my sister, and I'm not feeling well, probably psychosomatic, probably just total anxiety. I'm in bed, and it turned out later that I had walking pneumonia. But I said, I'm too sick, I don't want to go. So my sister went with my husband-to-be down to the jeweler's in Green Bay and picked out the wedding rings, which I hated when I saw. I thought, oh, ick, but that was it. So I just never, my brother, he did sort of what Roger did. We all found out about his marriage from a letter he wrote, all of us, telling us that they'd gotten hitched in Houston, Texas, where he was teaching at the time, and that was that. So I don't get the wedding thing, obviously. Little writes, Lynn, that show is on tonight at 10. According to the local listings. It's called Welcome to Leith, or Leith. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Yeah, I want to try to definitely see that. I hope I don't. Oh, God, somebody sent me stills from that thing of people jumping into that pool of crap to get the money. Ugh, what an awful. Ugh. Susie says, do you know what the sale of City Paper to the Butler Eagle will or won't do to your show? The answer to that, Susie, is no. I do not know. Nobody has seen fit to talk to me about it. I'm in a strange place. I'm not an employee of City Paper. I'm a independent contractor. So it's unclear. I'm not worrying about it because one way or the other, I'll keep the podcast going. Okay? Although I don't see why. I don't know. I don't have a clue. Two little things that I happen to see that I want to, if you don't mind, read to you. This is from a guy named Jim Lewis. And, I said, I forgot when I tweeted it, but it was seemingly long ago when I said something that when all is said and done, this monster that we now see we have to deal with named Donald Trump, I said it will become clear that the media were the midwives at the birth of this monster. I feel like media have a huge, huge, huge part in this. There are others as well, the Republican Party itself. I mean, there's lots of people you can point to. But I thought this was one of the smarter things I'd read. And here we go. Who's to blame for Donald Trump? Liberals are blaming Fox News, other right-wing news outlets, and others for inflaming the white working class with class envy and racial resentment, and the Republican Party's being blamed for not standing up to a loathsome bully. But the culture that initially made Trump a celebrity, Jim Lewis says, was not the one that goes hunting on weekends. Nor was it a Ku Klux Klan newsletter that first brought him his own that first brought Trump to our attention. No, it was Time magazine and Esquire magazine and Spy magazine. Who gave him his own television show? NBC. So the fact is that these huge cultural gatekeepers and corporate owners of our culture, they have been the ones totally complicit in this crass hustlers' 30-year campaign of self-promotion. They did it while the media did it, while chuckling ironically at his materialism and his sexism and profiting from his ability to draw an audience, to sell newspapers and books, and to boost TV ratings. And even when Trump became rancidly political and railed that President Obama was a Muslim born in Kenya, the Washington Post invited him to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. What good fun, I'm sure they were all thinking. Would, say, David Duke have gotten the same invitation? No, of course not. But Trump wasn't a redneck. So the elites felt comfortable indulging him. But now that the game has gotten out of hand, let's remember who helped create this monster. Entertainment culture. Corporate entertainment culture. Denise says about the lavish wedding, I doubt that this couple paid for that wedding. This smacks of parental showing off. Oh, and then she said the bride and her family are fixtures on scene. Okay, so they're rich people who like doing parties. Whatever. Don't get it. But to each his own. We only have a few minutes left, but I want to say something. We've noted, or maybe I haven't, that as this farcical election season continues apace, Barack Obama's ratings, approval ratings, are going up and up and up. And obviously, that's a direct result of people now who used to think, looking at the contrast and saying, oh my God, Obama is a president that, you don't even have to agree with him, but he has represented us in a very classy manner. But this is something I want to say. I saw that the president, I guess over the weekend or something, I saw somewhere that he pardoned another 70 people, most of these drug-related. And I got to say, for a president who has nothing left to lose, who has less than a year in office, and who has the power, and who has used his executive power to do things because he knows he can't get the Republican Congress to do anything. So he's made end runs around them, doing what he can here on immigration, doing what he can over here on other things, environment. He's trying to do that. But the one thing he hasn't done that he could is pardon tens of thousands of people. What is this piddling 70 here, 35 there? We've got tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people who have served 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years for something that won't even be considered an offense in another 5 years. Get him out. He's the president. He can friggin' pardon. He can empty the jails. Oh, they'll be pissed. But why doesn't he do it? What's with this 70 pardons? Do you know? And here, this puts it in perspective, by the way. He, as presidents go, has pardoned fewer people and commuted fewer sentences than any other president since, get this, John Adams. We're going back, folks, to 1801. We're going back well over 200 years. All of the presidents in the interim had pardoned far more than he has pardoned. What? And as you know, these pardons, I mean, the people who have been most harmed are African Americans, are black people. Well, and maybe that's why he's reluctant to let, but it doesn't matter. He can do whatever he damn well pleases now. Get him out. But of course, we did an interview just last week, which tells you that we do not have a structure in place to help these people once they get out. We refuse to rent to them. We refuse to give them jobs. We refuse to in any way ensure that they can succeed outside. But still, Obama, come on now, baby. Come on. It's beyond me. And I keep thinking, well, he's going to. He is going to. He's still got, he's got like 8 months left, and he can just keep letting these people out. Let them out. Can be a modern day Moses. Let these people go. All right. Thank you very much. Tomorrow, I'll see you. Okay? Toodles.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.